All righty. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on this wonderful sunny summer day. If you can, please rise and join me in a spirited leading of Spirit-led, Spirit-fed, and welcome the ministers. I am Spirit-led, Spirit-fed. Everywhere and always I am Spirit-led. I am Spirit-led, Spirit-fed. Everywhere and always I am Spirit-led. Flowing like a river of peace. I am nature's wandering child. Love cannot be added to me. I am made complete in the divine. I am Spirit-led, Spirit-fed. Everywhere and always I am Spirit-led. I am Spirit-led, Spirit-fed. Everywhere and always I am Spirit-led. There's magic in every day, like a beautiful song. And as we're choosing our way, there's a voice inside to guide us along. We are Spirit-led, Spirit-fed. Everywhere and always we are Spirit-led. We are Spirit-led, Spirit-fed. Everywhere and always we are Spirit-led. We are Spirit-led, Spirit-fed. Everywhere and always we are Spirit-led. We are Spirit-led, Spirit-fed. Everywhere and always we are Spirit-led. Everywhere and always we are Spirit-led. Everywhere and always we are Spirit-led.
Welcome. It's so good to see those of you who are here in our sanctuary. And I want to say a special welcome to you online. We are so glad that you are with us. My name is Pat Webster, and I'm sort of half service leader and fully delivering the message this morning. So welcome to everybody. We're going to start with our invocation. And as we do this, this is to remind us of the divine light that is in each of us, that we're each a manifestation in our own way of the divine. If you've got a candle at home and you want to light it, you may do that. We invite you to do that. And as I light it, we're going to say our invocation and opening prayer. It's found on your tan sheet behind you, in the front of the chair, in the back of the chair in front of you. There we go. And let's say our invocation. And there is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life. God, the good omnipotence. And so it is.
I surrender. I trust and I know as I surrender, I fall into the arms of love. I surrender. I trust and I know as I surrender, I fall into the arms of love. I fall into the arms of love.
go more deeply within, to go to that quiet place, that still place within that knows the peace that passes all understanding. So if you haven't already, I invite you to gently close your eyes or gaze softly down. And take a few clearing, cleansing breaths. On the exhale, releasing whatever needs to be released, any concerns, worries, stresses. And breathing in infinite divine love, divine peace. Allowing any muscle tension to soften and drain away. Allowing the eyes to soften, rest more deeply. Jaw soft. And again, enjoy some slow, relaxed breathing for this time to connect more deeply with our true essence. We invite our minds to calm and quiet, drop into our heart space more fully. And again, enjoy some relaxed, slow breathing for this time to pause from everything, to get renewed and replenished. Nothing to do, simply be. So together now we join our hearts together as we rest in our pure beingness, fully aware of the indwelling divine, the indwelling Christ light. Resting in the silence for a few minutes. Noticing how good it feels to pause and receive, that we may be embodied in this divine love, divine light energy. And in this space of divine love and light, now's the time if you would like to speak softly aloud or silently in your heart any prayers you have for people, places, circumstances, knowing that the divine is already tending to these requests. So giving thanks, knowing that this love, light, healing energy is reaching out wherever we've extended our heart energy to, our love, our support. And of course, we include the entire world in this web of interconnected light, Christ light, divine love, envisioning unity consciousness, enveloping the planet, peace, harmony, collaboration, cooperation, abundant life for all, blossoming now. And we also, in this field of divine love and light, are blessing any prayers that are submitted this month in our prayer request box, beholding the divine within each person, in each circumstance, and know that the very highest and best possibilities are unfolding for whatever the need is. And together we give great thanks and release all to the highest and best in the light of the universal Christ. And so it is. Amen. And as we gently bring our awareness back to this room, fully embodying this divine presence, feeling it in our hearts, and together we connect with each other in this room and on the live stream, feeling our energy join, beholding the divine within each other. Maybe wiggle your toes and fingers, coming fully back as we prepare to say our vision and mission statement together, which is on this buff sheet, laminated sheet, or on the front of the program. Okay, together, our vision. We envision the divine light awakening in all. Our mission. We center in peace and love. We connect in our hearts with others. We celebrate our journey toward wholeness, and we empower others to experience their spiritual magnificence. So it is. Now we get to enjoy some wonderful music.
Enjoy some music by our special musician today, a gentleman who I've known of for quite a while, and I'm going to introduce my friend, Tim Smith.
Good morning. I'd like to thank Chris for bringing me into your community and welcoming me, and I really appreciate it. It's Father's Day, so I thought I'd do a song I wrote about my father, a hard-working veterinarian. As a matter of fact, I've been doing a lot of Ancestry.com stuff lately. And they put up the 1950 census stuff. And one of the columns, the census guy who came around to Central Illinois and asked, and they filled out, it was, how many hours did you work last week? And for my dad, the number was 98. And I have some doubts as to whether that might have been an underestimate. That old gray syringe was about 1 inch wide, pulled out from a compartment in an old Ford truck's left side. When it came to treating livestock, he was one of the best. But he kept his trade secrets pretty close to the vest. So they'd ask him, hey, Doc, what are you giving him there? And he'd answer, it makes a well one sick, or a sick one well. Which one is which? You can't never tell. And I can't tell you to go to hell. It makes a well one sick, or a sick one well. Before the sun has woke up, after the sun went to bed, he would drive the countryside, healing with jokes and meds. Yeah, he knew how to doctor them up. He knew how to make a buck. But you get smart with him, and you're out of luck. Hey, Doc, what's that? It makes a well one sick, or a sick one well. Which one is which? You can't never tell. And I can't tell you to go to hell. Makes a well one sick, or a sick one well. Now the Great Depression was in your veins, something that you never did get past. Back there when you looked over your shoulder, back there when you breathed your last, which by now was 20 years ago. And you're up there in them pearly gates. Perhaps one day I'll go up there and see you and ask you just to yank your chain. Hey, Doc, what you giving them up here? Makes a well one sick, or a sick one well. Which one is which? You can't never tell. And they let you in, well, I'll be go to hell. They made a well one sick, or a sick one well. Made a well one sick, or a sick one well. Thank you.
Tim, that was great. I am remembering also that I am wanting to light this candle for special things. We start with remembering the people in Ukraine. We also remember the people in Uvalde today. Along with Father's Day, we celebrate Juneteenth, the emancipation of the last slaves in the United States. So all of these special memories are here with us too, and honorings. It was 1989. I was in graduate school, and I went to a required seminar out in San Francisco. And the seminar was 5 days, and I had 3 days in between that and a conference down in Southern California, south of LA. I was really tired. I needed some refreshment. So instead of flying from San Francisco to LA, I decided I was going to rent a car and drive down the Pacific Coast Highway and stay somewhere in Big Sur when it suited me. So I'm driving along. I can't remember what town I was in. I think it was Los Alamos. I can't remember. And I'm going down a hill, and I'm slowing down to stop at a stoplight, and all of a sudden the car starts going bump, bump. And I go, darn, the guy gave me a rental car with a bad tire. And then it goes bump, 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 and I say, 4 bad tires. And then all of a sudden, the road starts cracking in front of me, and the sidewalk starts cracking. And the cement gutter at the side of the road starts cracking, and I realize I'm in the middle of an earthquake. Now, this was no baby earthquake. This was 7 on the Richter scale. I later found out I was 70 miles from the epicenter. I didn't know that at the time. But, of course, it was just like in the movies. You know, and I thought, am I going to fall into the sea? Is this part of land going to drop off like they predict? So I got scared. And then I got really mad at California. California, I've only been here twice in my life, and you're going to have an earthquake on me while I'm here? And then I went into shock. The light changes, if the lights were still on, I don't remember, but the cars started going, and so I started driving. Numbly in shock, that just seemed like the thing to do. Just keep driving. And for hours, I drove over these roads. I drove over overpasses that had gone like this, crunched down, and were resting on the steel girders. And I would watch the car in front of me, and I would say, wow, that car made it. Shock, 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 shock. About 3:30 in the afternoon, I was driving through Watsonville, which was on fire. Some of the gas lines had been shaken loose and broken, and fires had started all over Watsonville. Now, remind you, this was in the days before cell phones, and the radio towers had also been disrupted with the earthquake. I didn't know if the airports were open. I certainly wasn't going to go up into Big Sur. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was driving through Watsonville, and outside my window, I saw there's a father right here, and there's a little boy, and he's got him by the hand. And the little boy has his father's hand, and he has a stick in the other hand. And they're walking along, and he's going thunk, 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 thunk along one of those metal fences. And he was so happy, so carefree. And on the radio comes on, if you're out in your car traveling, please go home immediately. Home was across the country. And I saw that father, and I saw that little boy, and I burst into tears. I want to go home. I want my daddy. I want my daddy to hold my hand. My daddy had these big, we called them like bear paw hands. And when I would, he was a good daddy. And when I would hold his hand, I would feel so safe and so secure. And I knew how loved I was. I just felt good. I knew I was all right. So we're going to honor today on Father's Day the inner and the outer father. There are two aspects to the divine Father. One is divine mind, which is everywhere, the creator, the creative intelligence that created the universe, the life and intelligence pervading all the universe. Now, mind and intelligence is not very personal. This mind obeys all the laws of divine mind, laws of principles of prosperity and principles of creativity and creation, but it's not very personal. Roll time forward some decades later, I think, maybe one or two, and my husband has died, and a year later, my mother has died, and it's 6 months later, and I've been called back up to the mountains where my father has an aggressive brain tumor and has 2 or 3 weeks to live. I had been so strong during my husband's death and my mama's death, and I got up to the mountains, and I went out in the woods, and I just fell to my knees. And I said, God, you're going to have to help me. You're going to have to give me the strength. I am on my knees now. This feels like too much, but I know you'll help me. And I felt this sense of strength and power and comfort come through me. I felt that personal aspect of God the Father, and I got up on my feet, and I knew that I could deal with a challenging situation at home with siblings, if anybody have ever been through this in response to a parent's death, and my dying father. I knew I could deal with it now. How many of you have had personal experiences like that? Raise your hands. That's right, the personal aspect of God the Father. The comforting, strengthening aspect. And there's an aspect of God the Mother, too, and I can't wait to talk about that someday as well, but today it's about fathers. The psalmist wrote, I will be a father to you, and you shall be sons and daughters to me. Think about that. Sons and daughters of the Father God. To more deeply understand that, I'm moved to talk about Jesus. And before I do that, I want to apologize to anyone who may be offended by that, because we don't do that much here at UCP. And I, myself, have been wounded and betrayed by the Christian religion twice in my life and walked away for quite a few years, twice in my life. And here in Unity, we celebrate diversity and we celebrate the inclusion of all the spiritual paths, seeing them as fingers up to the hands of God, and I've explored many of those. But when I got to Unity, and I'm in seminary now, I'm on our future ministers team, the things I've learned about Jesus went thunk and felt right to me for the first time in my life. One of the things that Unity teaches, and I believe, and it feels right, is that Jesus did not come into earth to save us miserable sinners from our sins. Why not? Because the Bible does tell us that we're made in the divine image of God, of the divine, and God is all good and all pure. Do we make mistakes? Yes. But inside we are pure. Each of us, individual manifestations of the divine or God or spirit or whatever you want to call it. Like snowflakes, each one totally different, coming from the same source. And Jesus, he was a chip off the old God block. And the second thing that I love about Unity teachings is that he came here as a way shower. He came here to show us how we can live a life in consciousness with our Father God and live a human life in a human body. He's our brother, really. Because in John, he said, I've come to show you the way, and you can do it as well as I did or better. Greater. Any one of us capable of doing the same works that he did. The same healing of self and others. We have Lorraine, a healer amongst us, and Oswaldo, and Vibrance when she was here. The same calming of the storms. I have a sister who can energetically move storms. I used her a lot when I was sailing. The knowing from our inner Father how to do the right thing in challenging situations, even if it's hard. The same bringing of peace and love, while speaking and acting against injustice and more. A son of the Father God, just like we are sons and daughters living inside a human skin. Jesus walked where we walk, experienced what we experience, suffered like we suffer, maybe more if you count the crucifixion. Although as a psychotherapist, I've heard some pretty big, bad suffering stories. He was mistreated. He was misunderstood. How did he feel secure in the world? He said, my Father loves me. My Father is well pleased with me. That's how he felt secure. Where his self-worth was concerned, he didn't get bent out of shape or care about anyone's opinion except his Father's. Let's just steep in that for a minute. Let's just think about that. How might that be if we were so connected to our inner divine Father that we could say the right thing, do the right thing in any moment of our human life, no matter what people think of us? Because we know that's okay. My Father loves me. My dad loves me. My daddy loves me. I called my daddy Daddy. We can do that like Jesus because we are the same daughters and sons. Got that place inside of us, that connection to our Father. Now, let's talk about human fathers. Would all the fathers in the room please stand? And those of you who are online, even if you're just alone, stand up and let's honor the human fathers in the room. Yes. Now, some of us have been blessed with really good earthly fathers, and some of us have not. If we have not, we carry some wounds if our fathers have treated us badly, consequent to their wounds. So sometimes we can hear those wounding voices in our head, like, you can't do anything right. You're never going to be a success in life. You're too much. You talk too loud. You better You better stop being angry or I'll show you what anger means. Or, I don't have time for you. Get out of my way. I've got things to do. Or we may make up really some negative things about ourselves inside, like, there must be something the matter with me, or my father would have spent more time with me, or would have treated me in a different way. So the good news is that our Creator made our human psychology in a way that we can address those wounds. We can address the incompleteness that we may feel in response to our father wounds. We have an inner psychological blueprint called an archetype of an ideal father. And with our imagination, our creativity, which is our theme for this month, we can finally develop and hone that inner archetype so that it can be available to us anytime we need in the psychological human realm. So what are the aspects of a really good father? What is the yang of us? What does it help us do in the world? Well, first of all, there's a warrior aspect to it, a good warrior aspect that protects the household, that protects us as a child. It's how I felt when he'd hold my hand. I know he wouldn't let anything happen to me, but to guard the household as well. A good father teaches us skills for living successfully in the outer world, loves and supports us in a way that makes us feel confident as we go out. I remember once we were on a trip, my mother and father, and I was an adult, and I had to stop and go get something in the grocery store, and I was walking out across the parking lot with my walk. And my father said to my mother, look at her, isn't she fine? I took that in. You know what I got from my father? I got the gleam in my eye, because that's what I would see when he would look at me. So he makes us feel confident about going out in the world. Teaches us how to problem solve and to think, to achieve our goals. It's the archer within us that knows how to shoot straight for the bullseye and hit the mark with what we want and need to do. It teaches us individuation. What is that? That's our own version of our own snowflake, to become the best version of our individual self in the world. Teaches us discernment, separating the wheat from the chaff. This is good for me, this is not good for me. To set limits with ourselves. No, I won't have that second piece of cake. And with others. Teaching us to respect ourselves. If we've had a good human father, respect ourselves. If we have wounds, we can get more conscious of that inner father archetype blueprint and polish it up so that we have it available to us in our everyday lives. So I want to invite you now into a meditation that helps us get in touch with messages from that archetype, if you are willing to and want to. And if that is so, you can begin by once again relaxing like Lorraine so beautifully invited us into. Taking a deep breath, exhaling anything, any thoughts, any judgments, any criticisms, any whatever, what am I going to eat for lunch? Just exhaling and releasing all that. As you take in a deep, relaxing breath. And I want you to take a moment and see yourself at a certain age. It might be you right now, or it might be an earlier time in your life, when you were little or teenager, some earlier time. It could be a time when you experienced some pain in response to your father If so, let you know that. Or you might remember a good and loving time with your Father. Just breathe that in. And if it was a good and loving time, think about what you got. And breathe that in. Grateful for that memory. Grateful for that gift. Or if there was something you needed instead of what you were getting, be aware of that. Be aware of what you might have needed instead. I'm going to, in a second, say some messages from the ideal father blueprint archetype. And as I do, see which ones, if any, speak to you. Maybe a reminder of something you got from your father, one way or another, or a reminder of something that you needed that you didn't get. If the message touches you, breathe it in deeply. Here are the messages. You are safe with me. I will protect you no matter what. You belong. You belong right here with your mother and me. You are always a part of us. There is nothing you need to do or be any differently to be always in my heart forever and ever. You can do it. I'm right here. It's okay if you fail. I'll help you get up and keep going. I'll help you figure it out. I'll teach you what you need to know so that you can be all that you can be in the world. I will give you rules and guidelines so that you will be safe and learn. I will help you learn to organize your life. It's okay to express your feelings. I'm big enough to hear and hold those. I'll show you how to do it in safe ways. I respect who you are, regardless of who you love, regardless of your skin colors, regardless of who you grow into in this world and who you are right now. I respect you. And sitting in the quiet, taking anything in that really touches you, that you feel like you needed, or something that you feel like you got that you're grateful for. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes and come back to this waking world, out of your imaginal world, which is more powerful than we can know. It's one of our 12 powers. If you're interested, on the back table, I have handouts that have these messages on them. So if you need to hone up your inner psychological father archetype, you can take them home and meditate with them. I hope that this has helped you know a little or a lot, that anytime you need your divine father and or your inner ideal psychological father, or even if you're lucky, your real human father, that it's there to hold your hand inside or outside. And may the love of the Father bring smiles and warmth to you today and every day. Thank you.
Wowee. This song's really kind of fit with that. I mean, had no idea. Not only that, but on October 17th of 1989, when your car tires were acting strangely, I was sitting in the upper deck of Candlestick Park showing gratitude that my whole life I wanted to go to the World Series. And I was there. And perhaps not the best time. So here's a little father and son baseball fairy tale. The helmet was way too big. I was shaking like a leaf, with everybody watching. I took a big old swing. The bat missed the ball by a country mile. I looked over at my daddy, and he just smiled. He said, it just takes one. And son, you ain't done. Find the right one. You just begun. It just takes one. It just takes one. So I got right back in there, and you could hear the crack. The ball split the outfielders. I was running fast, digging around second, halfway to third. Up there in my head, I could still hear his words. It just takes one. Son, you ain't done. Find the right one. You just begun. It just takes one. It just takes one. Well, later on you might say I struck out on my own. First base was elusive, never mind getting home. But one day we connected and walked down the aisle, and I looked over at my daddy with a wink and a smile. Hey, old timer, you know it just takes one. We ain't close to done. I found the right one. We just begun. Just takes one. It just takes one. It just takes one. All right, thank you.
All right, we're being a little creative. I'll be up there in a moment, but I've got to help out the live stream people, so just a second here. We're adding our creativity. This is what happens when you're a family and somebody's not here. Thank you, Pat. That was quite divine for me. And thank you, Tim. So we've got all of these gifts. And Lorraine, thank you as well. We have all these gifts that we share in this community. And it is one of these things that if we don't show up, we don't get to experience it. It just doesn't happen. And so I am so appreciative of all of you being here in this moment, live stream, in person, and in between those cracks of virtual and real and analog and digital and all of that. And if we give through this community, this gets to amplify, not only for ourselves, but for everyone on this planet. So it's really important that we do give. That is what that ideal father that Webster was speaking of, all those wonderful ideals that come from God the Father, or the ideal father archetype, however you want to slice that in your head. And so I invite you to give from that space. Whatever that might be, if you're in person and you are a conscious sustainer, you can pick up the green cards. There's other options in the seat backs for in person, online, you're seeing it already. And let's just dive into that affirmation, which is on the buff sheet or the order of service or whatever you know that to be in person and on the screen. And let's really feel and say that together. Together? Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am.
I'm happy, I'm joyful, I am fulfilled. I'm happy, I'm joyful, I am fulfilled. I'm aware of all my blessings, so much that I can't sit still. I'm happy, I'm joyful, I am fulfilled. I'm happy, I'm joyful, I am fulfilled. I'm happy, I'm joyful, I am fulfilled. I'm aware of all my blessings, so much peace I can't sit still. I'm happy, I'm joyful, I am fulfilled. I'm happy, I'm joyful, I am fulfilled. I'm happy, I'm joyful, I am fulfilled. I'm aware of all my blessings, so much peace I can't sit still. I'm happy, I'm joyful, I am fulfilled.
All right. So we're not done with these gifts yet. If you would extend your hands towards these, because we are putting and combining these gifts together. So by doing that, we are saying yes to amplifying them for ourselves and others. And this energy, currently called money, but much more energy, is moving out from this space into every nook and cranny of that thing called the economy, and brightening and shining up and loving and instilling God the Father everywhere it goes. And it is a cycle, folks, so it's coming back to you. And so it is. Oh, wait. We've got one more. Would you take the prayer box out? Because we got to prime the pump. So if you have a prayer request that's going out into the foyer, there are prayer requests there, and our trained prayer team prays over those for the 30 days after that. Yes, Lorraine Lewis is heading that up. So, are there any new folks here for the first time? And if you are, you can raise your hand. Our special guest musician is here for the first time. And if you're online, also, you can just put a shout out into the chat, but there's a card if you're physical. Fill out both sides, give it back to Mary or myself or Pat, and there's a little gift in there for you. So we've got all that, and one more time, would you come on up?
one more time, thanks a lot for welcoming me here. It's a very special morning for me. Thanks. And so, since about March of 2020, we probably needed those closest to us more than we ever did. With the banks overflowing on a river of rage, a newspaper anger on every page, and none of the grown-ups are acting their age. What would I do without you? What would I do? What would I do? What would I do without you? When I go through the motions, unsatisfied, in a job that steals my last shred of pride, and all of the passion is trying to die. What would I do without you? What would I do? What would I do? What would I do without you? When there's no reason for reason, just exploited fears, and they only tell you what you want to hear, and that echo chamber that echoes so near. What would I do without you? With my sun going down and my day almost through, and the paint store don't carry more shades of blue. Well, thank God for the kindness I can turn to. What would I do without you? What would I do? What would I do? What would I do without you? What would I do without you? Thanks a lot.
That's a hard one to follow. Still weepy about that. I get to do the announcements today. Yes! All right. We got a couple new announcements here. First one, the minister is in. Victoria has decided to do some office hours on Thursday afternoon. She's there from 3 to 6. You do not need to make an appointment. Just drop by and Victoria will see you. If there's somebody there, wander around outside, enjoy a little bit of the sunshine, and come back in, and she will see you after that. So that is happening on Thursdays. This Tuesday is June 21st. It is the longest day of the year. And to do that, it's also the summer solstice. We'll be having a celebration. Chris Geith and Kathy O'Leary Bagai will be hosting a fire ceremony, shamanic style, in the UCP parking lot, which is right out there. Shamanic style, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I bet there's a big fire. And bring your drums, rattles, tambourines, hands to clap, whatever. And that's going to happen, again, this Tuesday, June 21st at 7 o'clock. We have after-service massage, which sounds so good. So Michael Savino is back there, and he is a licensed massage therapist, so you're not just getting an amateur here. And he's going to be setting up on the back deck on that side of it, and he would appreciate donations. I don't know what he does with those donations, but he would appreciate that if you can. It's a good...
I buy massage oil with those.
He buys massage oil with those donations, so. All right. Number 4, social media. Stay connected with us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter at Unity Center of Peace. Subscribe to our Unity Center of Peace YouTube channel. And or sign up to receive our weekly e-newsletter. There's a sign-up sheet on that back table right there where Mary is sitting. Finally, a couple more. After the service, there is a 3-minute miracle, which has, I'm not sure who's doing the 3-minute miracles. Lorraine Lewis is doing them today. She will meet you back in the back of the building up there. If you have something going on that you'd like to share or have some insight given to you, Lorraine would be happy to do that. She's a trained prayer partner, and it is just down the hall, room 103. Live streamers can send an email to prayer@unitychapelhill.org to include your phone number, and a prayer partner will call you back for those of you that are online, if you would like to do that. And finally, Alt, who many of you know, he's not here today, but he needs a ride home after the Sacred Cafe next week. So if anybody is available to give Alt a ride home next week, that would be greatly appreciated. You can see Alt, or you can see me next week, or you can see Chris Eagle if you are able to give Alt a ride. And that is where we are. So we are moving on now to our final thing. Do we have children today? No.
No children? Okay.
No children.
Chris, that was great. Your skills, that's the first time he's ever done the announcements.
Yes.
And that's great. I like the little music things you added with it. Yeah. You got to take some bushels off your candles. One more announcement, and that is that our brother and friend Pete Bikus has hurt his back. And Reverend Victoria contacted Karen Rowe, who's the We've Got Your Back point person this month, and she has called and done an assessment with Pete, and he needs some help with meals. And Karen set up a food train, and there is a link that Mary's, with these little sheets of paper that Mary Wiley is holding up, as well as a phone number. He said that he would love phone calls and prayers. So if you would be willing to sign up for a meal for Pete, that would be really great. We have an opportunity as a community to help one of our own, and as we know, when we give in this way, we feel it and it comes back to us multiplied. So thank you. So it's time now to say our prayer of protection, which is on the back of this buff sheet, and we're going to stand up to do that. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let's sing our peace song.
Peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let me be with my family in perfect harmony. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyful vow. To take the truth and live each moment in peace eternally.
So it is.